Our world today faces many challenges. In the last 5 years alone, food price spikes, extreme weather events, and mass unemployment have been major contributing factors to protest and riot in nations all across the world. And many of those nations are countries with dryland areas. It is dryland countries that are most exposed to the dangers of water scarcity, energy demands, trade inequality, climate change, and population growth. And these dangers come together to form a nexus of risk, with food security at its heart. The Qatar National Food Security Programme's International Conference on Food Security in the Drylands is an opportunity to address the issues of food insecurity faced by people and governments of dryland areas for a secure tomorrow.
For secure tomorrow indicates the need for countries all around the world to think of how they can control access to food. Capacity, technology, a whole range of issues need to be addressed in order to ensure that that access, which forms part of the definition of food security, is met at all times.
At least 40%, or 6.1 billion hectares of the world's total land areas are drylands, home to 2 billion people, or over 1/3 of the world's population, a large percentage of whom are unemployed and live in chronic poverty. And it is in these areas that populations are growing at the fastest rate, and where pressures on food resources are at their most intense. But public investment in agriculture has dropped drastically over the last 30 years. The annual average of official development aid for agriculture has fallen from $6.2 billion a year in the 1980s to $2.3 billion in the last decade. While dryland nations now spend an average of less than 4% of their public expenditure on agriculture, and food import costs have been constantly increasing. In Arab countries, dependence upon food imports between the year 2000 and 2010 has more than doubled, from 15 to 38 billion US dollars a year, and that food bill is expected to reach at least $75 billion by 2030. Because of their reliance on food imports, dryland nations remain vulnerable to risks outside their control, such as poor harvests, international price fluctuations, and transport disruptions. Arab countries alone import about 56% of the cereal calories they consume. One way to reduce the risks involved in import dependence is to invest in local food production. Qatar's Biotechnology Center is partnering with private companies to research and develop growing techniques for heavily saline land.
Green biotechnology facilitates reclamation of saline soil. By adding microorganisms to the soil, we enable vegetable and forage crop to grow.
The salinity of the soil in the Sabha is 25% higher than the water of the Gulf Sea. But with the introduction of microbes, the soil has become fertile and vegetables and fodder can now grow here.
We can raise agriculture crops in larger area, in larger desert area, barren area, wastelands.
While in the laboratory, tissue cultures are being developed for a range of suitable plants, and growing techniques which can be replicated at scale are being explored. Technical research has led to greater efficiency in water use for local crops, and the produce grown in these greenhouses is now supplying local supermarkets. And an innovative project aims to make more water available. A QNFS-supported research and development project implemented by Green Gulf and Chevron aims to eventually provide enough electricity to desalinate 3.5 million cubic meters of water per day. All by using solar energy. And this desalinated water will be made available to farmers for local food production.
And what we're doing here is we're identifying and working on improving technologies and applications that can be used in Qatar, but also can be used throughout the region.
A regional perspective is a key factor because the challenges to food security cannot be overcome by working only at a local scale. Resources must be managed globally and efficiently, which requires new approaches.
Farmers are going to provide the solution by improving the productivity, but they've got to do it sustainably. But they can only do that sustainable stewardship if they're given the ability financially within a market to do it.
And to achieve that, policymakers and institutions need to communicate through a common global agenda. Because if these challenges are not approached collectively and now, in the future the world could see spiraling food insecurity and hunger crises, more conflicts over scarce natural resources, and more displacement and migration. For this reason, the QNFSP hopes the Conference for Food Security in the Drylands will conclude with the signing of the Doha Declaration.
The Doha Declaration is aimed to making countries commit 10% of their public expenditure towards agriculture by 2022. It is crucial that such expenditure finds its way, otherwise these countries will face severe difficulties in overcoming issues such as supply of food and water. And hopefully by aggregating that effort, that we will be able for once to step up to that challenge.